This is day one of my Minecraft inspired game, so I'll just show you what I've built so far. It's a multiplayer game and I've set up a simple hosting screen. So one of these can host like that, and they've spawned with their ugly ass reticle and a generated world, and the other one can, there's a join button which comes up with a bunch of find session options, and then you click that and now you're in here with this person. So let me show you how this works. So we've got a really sketchy randomly generated world. We've got some Minecraft blocks with grass on the top, dirt on the sides, and we have the ability to destroy blocks like that. At the moment they're just spawning a random as fuck cube that doesn't really do much at the moment, and we have the ability to place blocks as well. Yeah, so that's all. Let me just show you my map, Minecraft basic map. So here's the world generation thing that I've got at the moment. The plan is to set this up so that it's infinite and can stream levels, but for now it's just a simple thing like this that just goes on for as much as you've set down here in the settings. So I can set that to 200 like that. I should have a num x here somewhere, maybe. Oh, there it is. So I can make the x go out a bit as well, and it just goes on forever and ever and ever. I built some stuff in the player controller to get the world to infinitely spawn. So at the moment it's very buggy. It's not quite spawning properly, but I think I can run forever and these will constantly spawn in front of me and they're despawning behind me. It's not perfect. I want to have it in a sphere around me rather than this weird jagged sort of spawning pattern. That was just a bug that I had yesterday that I couldn't quite figure out how to fix, so I just left it how it was, and I'm going to try again today with a fresh brain. I felt like I just needed a break. So I just set up 2D Perlin noise for my terrain generation. I just got it working inside of the chunk blueprint, so it looks like something like that on an individual chunk, and I'm just about to combine this with my world generation, my infinite world generation and streaming. So if this works well, this should continuously spawn chunks one after another as you move through the world, and they will connect because they're all drawing from the same noise sample. So let's see how this goes. Okay, I changed my step height to pretty high, so I should just be able to walk up these, but it doesn't look like it's quite working. Oh, kind of. So here we go, we're up on top of this hill, and as you can see down there in the distance, more and more chunks are spawning in. Our performance up in the top right is pretty shitty, to be honest, but it's consistent, and you can see that they're despawning as well as I move away from them. I might just change the render range and just see what happens. It'll probably kill the performance, but let's just see. Render range, it's only set to 3 chunks at the moment. Maybe I'll make that 6. Compile that. I might just change my step height as well so I can walk up on top of the blocks automatically. So I'll change that to 250. The block sizes are 200, so this is probably going to lag like hell. Oh no, it's actually not too bad. Maybe because I'm in a smaller window this time. Look at that. Way off in the distance you can see him spawning. I'm going to go even bigger again. Let's see how far I can take it. I don't know, maybe let's go 12. Oh boy. Oh no, we're in. The performance is shocking this time. I'm gonna have to do some optimization. just created my first 3D structure using Perlin noise. My first 3D I guess you call it like a voxel chunk made out of different cubes. So the way that it works is I've got 3 loops looping through X, through Y, and for Z for a defined like height, length, width, and each of these indices on the loops is corresponding to a coordinate to a particular block somewhere on here. So all of this here just gets the location of each of those blocks from those coordinates in the world, and then using the simplex noise sample, it takes the position of those blocks and then outputs a value. And then what I do with that noise value is I just check it against a threshold, which I can change, and then if it's greater than the threshold, it'll spawn a block. If it's less than the threshold, it does nothing. So this is what I've got at the moment, with like a 30 by 30 by 30 big grid of blocks. So I can change the noise threshold here. So if I just zoom in like that, see how we've got this big gaping hole in there. If I increase the threshold, I think that might make the gap smaller. Yeah, there you go. It keeps the same shape but makes more empty space. So if I make it smaller again, it reduces it even more. So if I put it up to 0.2, it should be really thick. 0.1, let's see what happens. I might have to go into negative numbers, I'm not entirely sure. What if I make it 0? So that's 0. It must be reading negative numbers as well, but yeah, check this out. That could be a map in itself, you know. I was going to use these as Minecraft chunks and build a world out of these with like caves and a surface and things like that, but I might even just use these for individual levels. So I've got one in the world right here now, and if I just spawn in, this is what it looks like. So I can jump down here. Oh fuck. Shit. Jump across. I got a big step height, so I can, oh fuck that, see ya, bye bye. And there's one more setting that I can show you. If I go back to the viewport so I can see it, what did I call it? I think the noise density. So I can change this. If I increase this to 0.1, it might make this a lot more chaotic instead of these nice smooth edges. Yeah, so see how that's a lot more jarring now, and there's like a lot more weird jagged edges and shit going on. So I might just bump this up a little bit. Yeah, so look at that. See how jagged and strange that looks? It's like little floating islands. So that's the noise density. I just combined the 3D chunk generation with the random world generation, and I've got all of my parameters in here to play with, and I just punched some stuff in, and I'm going to give this a run, and let's see what happens. So it'll lag a bit while it boots up. Oh, there we go. We got some stuff. And there we go. We're dropping in. Now, this is going to lag a ton. Let me just put in my frame rate. So it's fine now when they're all here, but when they spawn like that, that's unloading some old ones and bringing new tiles in. This is infinite. This could go forever. Oh, shit. Oh fuck. Yeah, so it's just the loading and unloading process that's a bit slow, but I can go all the way down here. That's just loading because I crossed over to another tile again. But yeah, check this out. It's like a big cave. Wow. Today I decided to tackle the problem of staggering the level streaming and the spawning, so that when you move across the map, a whole bunch of levels don't try to spawn in at once and cause the FPS to drop. That was something that I noticed was happening yesterday. The FPS was stable while I was just chilling in the map. So this is just the world that's going on right now. The FPS is stable when I'm chilling right here. It's like 60 FPS, but as I'd approach the edge of the map, what it used to do is spawn in all of the new tiles at once, and the FPS would just drop like horribly. So what I've got it doing now is I've just got it staggered so that they're spawning each one in a queue, just so it's a little bit easier and a little bit less jarring. I just fixed a huge bug that I had. When I was spawning my tiles, they were the wrong distance apart and they were overlapping each other, and I didn't realize, because the way that I've set up their heights and the noise and things like that, it's drawing from the same set of data. So they were spawning perfectly on top of each other and I had no idea, and I was wondering why my performance was dropping so much when I couldn't even see that far on the landscape. I thought that I'd have a much better performance given how few tiles were on the screen, but actually there was an enormous number of tiles on the screen. But I just wasn't realised because they were perfectly superimposed. So I found that and I fixed it, and now when I generate my worlds, just give this a second for me to spawn in. Check this shit out. Like, I can fucking, let me just climb to the top here. I can see like so fucking far into the distance. Look at that shit. And I've got what, like 60 FPS. It's dropping a little bit as I hit the transitions and it spawns in more. But for the most part, fuck man. So today I set up a noise generation algorithm, and I also tied that generation to a seed so that you can get the same generation of that noise every time, and you can also send that seed to other people so they can also get that same world. So if I just spawn in right now, I spawn beneath the world, but this is what the noise looks like at the moment. So we got some flat bits like this, we got some valleys, some low parts, some hills with some holes in them right now because they don't have depth at the moment. And if I go down to a really low part down here, I've also set it up so that the terrain spawns dirt when it's below, the blocks are below a certain Z value. So the noise is like varying like this in like your immediate vicinity, but it also goes up really high and really low with a different noise function. This is several noise functions overlaid on top of each other. And now just to show you the seed generation, so if I press restart, I spawn just there, and now if I press my J key, I just got a new seed, and if I press restart again, we have spawned in a different spot. Are we above or below? Oh, the world's way down there this time. Amazing. So if I press J again, and then respawn again, okay, now it's not as low as last time, it's in somewhere different. So right now we have a bunch of dirt and a bunch of steel and some grass, and if I reset, it's the same. You can see because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row just there, and then if I look again, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all exactly the same. And if I reset my seed and then reset the game, we get a different world. When I generate planes on just a plane, apply noise and everything like that, it runs fine. When I try to add depth to those planes, there's just too many blocks for the engine to handle, and it just lags like hell. So what I just went and did was I built an algorithm that checks if each of the blocks that it spawns is encompassed by other blocks, and if it's encompassed by other blocks, then the player can't see it, so it actually doesn't spawn. It just stores the position of that block and the fact that it should be spawned in memory. So, and then they spawn in when you need them. So you look at this, this is my 2D plane thing, but now it actually has depth. So if I dig down like this, oops, hang on, I think I might have dug right on a edge of a chunk. So if I dig here, it goes down like this. And so we've got this hollow inside. And what the plan is going to be is every single time I dig one of these, it's going to refresh this chunk and find out which blocks should be visible. So if this is meant to be full, instead of me digging through the surface and having a big empty cave inside, I'll dig and it'll automatically refresh the chunk and I'll see the next block right there. So I implemented the algorithm that checks each block and if it's enclosed by other blocks, and then the ones that are enclosed and hence you can't see them, they don't spawn, and that helped the performance like tremendously. It helped the baseline performance tremendously. But a problem that I was still having was when those chunks spawn in, the check that needs to happen to check each of those individual blocks and calculate if they're next to neighbors, that was all trying to happen in a single frame. And what would happen is as I was walking to the edge of the map and it was spawning in new chunks and they were all running that check together, the performance would just go from like 60 frames per second to like 3 and stay that way for like a few seconds before going back up to 60. So the baseline performance of 60 is good, and that's due to the fact that I'm checking the enclosed blocks and not spawning them. But I wanted to get rid of the stuttering as I moved from chunk to chunk. So what I did, oh, I just spawned through the floor, is now I've got an algorithm that spawns them all in a sequence. So if you watch this, if I just fly off the edge, instead of spawning them all at once and doing all of the checks at once, now they're spawning just like that. So I've staggered it. I've staggered the spawning, and what it does is it does the top layer first and then it spawns the ones underneath. So if I fly underneath, you can see that they're still going behind the scenes. So the result of this is as I get to the edge of the map, you can see the frame rate in the top right of the screen. It drops a little bit, like it goes down red, so I guess I could improve it a little bit more, but like for the most part it's pretty consistent. So you don't really notice as you're moving through the world any shocking like frame rate jolts that freak you out. And I should mention, by the way, this spectator pawn that I'm using, this moves way faster than the player character too. So if the player character was just walking through the map, they wouldn't be seeing all this shit off in the distance. I think it still has a bit more work to do, but this is much better than it was. Like, it's actually smooth now. Like, it's immersive and it feels sort of real. The way that I did this, by the way, is I'm not going to go into too much depth, but instead of just using normal for loops to generate grids and to do all of my checks, is I actually built a custom for loop that has a delay inside of it. So each loop body that it executes, it actually has an interval between them, and you can set that interval to, you know, like 0.1 seconds, so you do like 10 loops per second or whatever, or you can just set it to 0, and then what it does is it does this loop every frame, just like an event tick. So I've started to just apply that to everything. So here's my refreshing my chunk event, and I've just set that up with a custom for loop here instead of a for each loop to go through the array and do all of the things. I think I'm up to day 8 or 9. I took a break for a few days and almost abandoned the project, honestly, because I think I was just tired and I was getting so fed up with it. But I had another look at it today and I've decided that I want to keep doing it because it actually is really cool, and I've made a lot of cool stuff and I really want to actually put it to use. So today what I did is I played around with block placement and block destruction, and I've built it so that it actually saves the blocks that you've placed. So this is a thing that I built down here earlier, and if I place some blocks right now, oops, that's the wrong button. If I place some blocks here, so now we've got these two pillars, and I run off the map, they've both despawned because the chunks that they were on have despawned and we've got new tiles in. But then if I go back, the chunks are reloaded from save data, so this is actually saved on your hard drive. So if I reset the level, reloads it in from the beginning, and I run back down here to my spot, there we go, they've spawned in just there. So this is a sample of using cave noise below a certain threshold. I just added in some logic for spawning bedrock at the bottom of the caves. So now what we've got is a surface layer on top, and then just beneath the surface, which I think is maybe like 3 blocks thick, we have cave system, and then at the bottom of the cave system we have bedrock, and the bedrock follows the pattern of the surface. So here we go, we drop in here, that's the bedrock down there, and these are the caves. And I can make the caves tighter than this, they don't need to be this open either. So if I want to do that, I can go back into here and just change my noise threshold to maybe 0.25. That could be very tight now actually, but let's see. So if I run down here into the same area as last time, do some digging. Yeah, you can see now this is a lot denser than it was last time. Oh, still very cool though. Look at all the gaps. I like this.